Have you ever been in a situation where you've asked yourself the following question? Is, is this person flirting with me?
No. I've never taken a long pause in the middle of talking to someone, pointed to my head, and deeply pondered, is this person flirting with me? Especially as an adult. Maybe people do that when they're like 15, but generally not as adults.
You see, this is a universal conundrum.
Wow, I had no idea that everyone could misunderstand such a common behavior. Go on.
Picture the scene. You're at a friend's party. You sashay into the kitchen because, well, we all know that's where the fun is. And you see an attractive stranger getting a drink refill from a box of wine. Your friend's a student. And so you get a drink refill and you say something hilarious to the attractive stranger. Attractive stranger laughs. Good for you. And then for the next few minutes, there's some eye contact, more talking. But then, after a few minutes, you start thinking, is this person flirting with me?
Again, no. I walked up to an attractive stranger.
But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human, still.
If I walked up to an attractive stranger, I did so with the intent to flirt. So why would I be confused that I was being flirted with? People actually pay you to teach them things?
I'm Jean Smith. I'm a social anthropologist who studies flirting. A flirtologist, if you will. Now, as a flirtologist, I do research, I write books, I give talks, and I work with clients, both private and corporate, all with the goal of helping people to become better flirts.
No way she has serious clients. If she had serious clients, she would be on the TED stage, not the TEDx stage. Also, is anyone else bothered by the disingenuous way she speaks? She even does it on her website. Admit it, at the advent of online dating and then dating apps, you thought you'd found the holy grail, a way to access thousands of people and not really have to put yourself out there. What could be better? It's one thing to sound robotic or nervous if you're speaking on a stage or reading a script, but why does she feel the need to constantly sound like Cher from Clueless, even in writing?
Dion and her boyfriend Murray are in this dramatic relationship. I think they've seen that Ike and Tina Turner movie just too many times. Now I have to say to her,
Dee, why do you put up with it? You could do so much better.
The point is that when people have to create this fake persona of a personality archetype that doesn't actually exist in real people, it's because they are lying to you and likely don't have any skill in the things that they are saying they have skill in. For example,
So, what if I were to say to you, you must be a parking ticket because you've got fine written all over you? Would you laugh? Raise your hand if you thought my joke was funny. Go ahead. Don't be shy.
wow, that was rough. I can only see two people here who raised their hand, and it looks like that guy who is fully in frame is just doing a polite half-raised hand. Aren't you here to teach us social skills? How are you going to teach us social skills when you don't have the social awareness to realize that was a bad joke?
If you didn't raise your hand, it's not a good match. It's just not going to work between us.
Man, who is her copium dealer? Because that was some high-grade cope if your first thought is to blame fate instead of your lack of skills and humor. Speaking of, let's get to why we're here. This is Jean Smith, and her program is called Hot Ape. A little branding advice, maybe put a space between that acronym instead of periods, because otherwise it reads HOTAPE. So what is Hot Ape? It's an acronym designed to give you the perfect approach that involves humor, open body language, touch, attention, proximity, and eye contact. We've already gone over H, let's get into O, but first, if you like the content you see on this channel, then consider making a donation. Viewer support helps keep me independent and it helps fund the channel. Links to my PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar pages can all be found in the description. And also, don't forget to support me on Alt Tech. Links to my Odysee, Rumble, and Minds pages can all be found in the description as well. All right, next letter.
So, O is for open body language. 3 things to remember. Number 1, don't do this. In which instance do you want to hot ape me more? Like this or like this? Right? Not hot ape, hot ape.
I don't want to hot ape you in either of those circumstances. I still can't help but think, is this advice for 12-year-olds? I understand that there are people on the fringes of society in terms of social skills, but remember, she's giving a presentation to a general audience. What adult in her current audience at TEDx who is old enough to drink doesn't already know the things she's said so far?
Number 2, make sure your shoulders are facing the person. So, not hot ape. Not hot ape. Still not hot ape. Hot ape, okay? Not hot ape. Hot ape.
Got it. Shoulders must be at least at an 88.7-degree angle facing towards attractive stranger before it is considered hot ape. Like I said, does she realize that she has an audience? Being that this is at TEDx, I'm more apt to believe that this is an advertisement instead of an idea worth sharing. If you're going to advertise your coaching service, then you need to actually teach the audience something useful. Teaching them very basic body language concepts that the vast majority of people already know is not useful. Yes, I know there are people out there who are super socially awkward, but that's not how she framed this TED Talk. She framed it for general audiences. Here's where things get bad.
T is for touch. Now, as a general rule, shoulder is a safe place to touch. But as you go down the arm towards the hands, the touch gets more intimate. That's why I recommend everyone should kind of tap the hand and say something like, "Oh, you're so funny. People seem to love that stuff." Oh, another place that would be nice to touch would be just here at the top of the back between the shoulder blades. Perhaps if you're passing by, you can give a light touch.
What? Judging by the quality of your advice, the kind of client who needs to hear what you have to say needs about 2 years of social skills training before they can intimately touch someone's hand like that without being put on a list. Not to mention whatever that back thing was. Understandably, this talk was created before me too, but even in 2015, this would have been a problem. So that's half the letters. A is boring, so we're going to skip to P for proximity.
Now, proximity was used in 2 ways. The first, if you see someone across the room and then all of a sudden they're next to your side, this is not a coincidence. It means they like what they see and they must explore further.
This lady assumes so much, and it's a common thread that I've seen in every female dating coach I've looked at. P is for proximity, and her advice on this one is to randomly hope a person who is interested in you appears right next to you. What? This course isn't for Chad. Chad doesn't need you. You are selling this to people who are socially awkward. Speaking of, here's something obvious. Attraction is sales, and in order to sell something, you need to actually have a product first. Attractive stranger at boxed wine container is not going to randomly appear next to you if she doesn't see something that she likes, and vice versa. Remember that these people she is marketing to are so lost that they have to be told to maintain eye contact if they want social approval. They aren't at a point where attractive stranger is just going to approach them randomly. So that's enough for the letters. Let's hear a customer testimony of Hot Ape in action.
Now, my favorite story of hot ape being used in the field was relayed to me by one of my clients. She had shared hot ape with all of her friends. And one night they went out hot aping guys. And one of her friends was making eye contact with a guy at the bar. And she went over and spoke with him. And she came back a few minutes later, a bit dejected. And my client said, "Well, what happened? What happened?" And she's like, "Nothing." "Well, did you hot ape it?" She's like, yeah. And so then they started going through the signs. "Well, did you use humor?" She's like, yeah. "What about open body language? You didn't do this like you usually do, did you?" No. "What about touch? Did you touch him? Like back, hand?" "Oh, God, I didn't use touch." And then they started laughing. They're like, "Well, no wonder."
Oh, this makes so much more sense now. Are most of her clients women? Why would she not state that from the get-go? That's bad marketing to not do that because male and female game are different. If you take it from a male perspective, this advice is terrible. If you take it from the female perspective, it's still kind of terrible, but you can see where she's coming from. So her favorite story is a failure? Well, obviously this client in this example failed. It has nothing to do with bad advice. She merely failed because she didn't follow all the steps in the exact order. How could this woman forget touch? I mean, there's a catchy acronym to help you remember all the steps. The problem with this entire speech is that it just kind of assumes that you are already a likable person, which is completely missing the point when it comes to people who actually need this product. These people are coming to you because they aren't likable, especially if you're now saying your clients are female. No guy ever turned down a girl he was super into just because she forgot to intimately touch his hand during the first interaction. He turned her down because she wasn't physically attractive or because she sounded nuts. The advice that's actually going to help these women is not follow the steps. Instead, it's lose weight, dress nicer, and go to therapy. Don't pay some woman who clearly doesn't know what she's doing. Let's be honest, if a girl has to approach a guy and ask him out, she failed like 10 steps ago. Guys will take the lead and ask girls out if they are interested. I'm sure some radical feminists in the comment section will say, "How dare you, it's 2022, that's not how things work." Fine, prove it. Take a survey of random men asking them how many times they've asked out women versus how many times they've been asked out by women. I bet you the most generous answer from the most chatted out guy is like 10% of the time women ask him out. Women aren't doing the asking, men are. Despite all the nonsense that feminists say, the game remains unchanged.
Take action and go hot ape someone.
No thanks. Now I'm sure someone will say, but wait, you obviously chose a ridiculous example purely because it fits your narrative. While I did choose a ridiculous example because I thought it was entertaining, the more established female dating coaches really aren't any better. I've seen a lot of them over the years, and though they tend to be more socially aware than Miss Hot Ape, their advice on attracting women is not good. Which brings us to Marnie Kinrys, your personal wing girl.
My name is Marnie, and from here on out, I'm going to be your very own personal wing girl. As you know, I don't tell you BS. I give you the honest truth about what women want versus what they say they want.
Okay, I'm game. I want to get red-pilled on all the things that women actually want versus what they say they want. Give me some good advice. Are you guys ready to get alpha?
The top 1% of men who are considered as extremely attractive by women, all have this one thing in common. These guys are always polarizing. That means they make a very strong impression when you meet them. How do you exactly polarize? You can show her your vulnerable, softer side. You can cry at a movie.
Wait, like when you just met? No? Girls hate that. Maybe that's acceptable if you've known her for a while and a close friend or a family member died, but in general, women do not respond well to men crying. I'm surprised that's not obvious for a channel that's been teaching attraction since 2008. This is a PUA channel, right? I mean, it didn't seem to be that way originally, but polarization is a PUA technique, and I've heard her say things like this.
Once your guy friends see the way women respond to you, once you discover this, they may not let you anywhere near their girlfriends or wives.
Well, I am certainly waiting to hear all the secret techniques that will somehow turn me into a terrible friend who is constantly trying to break up everyone's marriages. But let's be fair, maybe her first example about crying was just a bad take. Everyone who has been on YouTube long enough is guilty of one of those. Let's try another example of her advice.
Number 3, stop hiding your interest. I see so many guys commit this mistake over and over and over again. They seem to like a girl very much, but they'll try to hide their interest. Now, the guys who are willing to polarize, of course, have a different approach. They are not afraid to show their interest or disinterest, even if they get rejected, which they do from time to time. They'll let the girl know how they feel about her. They do this so there's no chance of regret. They don't have to deal with the dreaded friend zone like so many guys do.
No shit. If they weren't afraid of showing their interest, they wouldn't need you. Either they're too afraid to talk to women, or they are afraid because they have talked to women and they have been rejected a ton of times because they are undesirable. This advice is essentially useless without addressing how to deal with fear. And from a creator's perspective, a 10-minute video discussing how to deal with fear is much more interesting and useful than a lazy 10-minute listicle that sounds like it came from a boring mainstream news channel. Allow me to do her work for her. If you are afraid of something, then get mad. Anger kills fear. Get mad at your inability to achieve the things that you want. Then identify what exactly you're afraid of and break it down into small steps that progressively get harder as you get more competent. You can't talk to a woman that you're attracted to? The first step is to get used to saying hi to people you don't know when you make eye contact. Once you get good at that, start saying hi to women that you're attracted to. Then expand it by saying, "Hi, how are you?" Once you get good at that, you can start moving towards, "Hi, how are you?" plus say one thing you like about her. Now you've shown interest. If complimenting her appearance is too hard for you, then compliment something that she's carrying, like a yoga mat or a Whole Foods grocery bag or whatever. Then move on to something like her eyes. There, that's how you do it. When you don't explain stuff like this, all you end up with is a bunch of followers who know a lot about all the things women won't tell you, followed by them never acting on any of it because it's too difficult for them. I don't know if this is the way that Marnie has always conducted her content, considering that she's been around for 14 years, and I've only watched maybe 30 of her videos, but in all of the recent content I've watched, she constantly gives non-advice. Here is her doing it again.
Polarizing personalities are different. They don't filter their actions. They say and do whatever comes naturally to them. They will express their thoughts, ideas, and opinions without worrying about what the girl's going to react to and how she's going to react to it. Because a man who is able to polarize people exudes tremendous confidence. He positions himself as a leader. You're either with him or you're against him. There's something very powerful and primally attractive about a guy like that. He makes us feel like he can protect us when we're with him, and that's inherently sexy to all women.
Oh my God, I can't believe I never considered that. I could just be confident. Thanks. I'll get right to being a high-value alpha Chad who only sleeps with 10s. This non-advice is right up there with just be yourself. For one, if you're a very unlikable person, then don't be yourself. Change your habits to things that people appreciate. 2, confidence is a skill that has to be built. You can't just solve all your anxiety problems by claiming that you are now confident. Therapists would be out of work if that was the case. Lucky for us, I know how to Google things, and I found a video where Marnie teaches confidence. Let's watch.
Here are the 6 tricks to never feel nervous around women and project confidence instead. So trick number 1, boost your voice. This one is super simple. When talking to a girl, or anyone for that matter, if you just speak louder than you generally do. Not screaming, but louder. You'll see an instant boost in your confidence. You'll feel more powerful. You'll feel more comfortable, even if you were incredibly nervous just 1 minute ago.
I have a lot of tolerance for this kind of stuff considering my job, but now even I'm getting annoyed. This is the 3rd time she's given non-advice, and trust me, I saw way more examples than 3 while researching for this video. Just like you can't simply tell someone to be confident, you can't say to someone, I know the solution to all your problems, just have a better voice. Are you kidding? If you have a messed up voice, it takes tons of work to correct that. It's not simply about projecting your voice. That's just one skill. There's also vocal cadence or pacing, there's enunciation, resonance, breath control, etc. Having a good quality voice that you can project at will is very difficult to learn. I'm going to skip past the other things she says in this video about confidence, because basically everything she says here is a list of her telling you to have very complex skills that take years to build for the people who don't already have them. The only thing she gets right in terms of building confidence is telling people to lower their standards. Yes, that's correct. Confidence is success-based, and building confidence looks a lot like what you do when you try to overcome fear. Break important goals down into easy steps that are almost impossible for you to fail, and progressively make those steps more difficult as you gain more confidence through your success. I will be fair though, this isn't the only instance I saw where Marnie gave good advice. Here's another example.
Moving on. Number 5, physical touch. And oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you how important this is. Yet 95% of guys out there never do it because they're too afraid that the girl will think it's creepy or weird. So you should initiate touch as early as possible. So start with platonic ones like a handshake or a high five. If she says something you agree with, light touches on her shoulder or the hand, and so on. These are safe spaces. This type of touching is perfectly acceptable in a social situation when you are meeting new people.
Yes, finally something correct. Those are easy excuses to touch someone that can be practiced pretty universally. Well, the handshake and the high five can be. I would also like to add hugging as an easy excuse to initiate touch for the socially awkward. But you might have noticed that Hot Ape Lady gave similar advice on this topic. However, the difference between what she said and what Marnie said is that Marnie showed how to escalate to that point and gave you an excuse to do it where it's socially appropriate. I don't know though, maybe I'm less critical of Marnie because I'm offended that Hot Ape Lady Jean Smith is arrogant enough to charge $150 a lesson for something that doesn't work. Well, to be honest, I don't necessarily think that Marnie is that much better on that front. Here's a website that she uses to sell one of her programs. I will say that as a survivor of early 2000s internet, this website has every marker of a website that will give you a computer virus, not to mention all the flags to impulse buy, probably because she knows it's a crappy product. People always oversell when the product sucks. Check this out. Warning, the content on this page is very sensitive and may be removed at midnight on January 11th, 2022. Oh no, I better buy now because it totally doesn't just take whatever day it is and say the sale is over on that day. Oh wait, it does. Here's what it said a day later. Now it says the sale is over on the 12th at midnight. Of course, it's written in I don't want to get sued language, so it says the page may be removed, knowing full well how many people will just skip over that word and assume the sale ends now. But wait, there's more. The website also has an infinity scroll with it telling you to add the product to your cart like 50 times before the page is over. When you do click add to cart, it gives you a fancy blinking red arrow and a massive discount that totally isn't them just pretending that the product is worth 4 times what they're selling it for, so that you think that you only have today to get that deal. A word of professional advice from someone who did sales for like 3 months, there's always a sale, so there's no need to impulse buy. Last, when you try to click off the website, it gives you this message. Again, just like every website that gave me a virus when I was a kid. Of course, I know that they're playing all these mental games to get sales, but what I don't understand is why both Gene Smith and Marnie Kinrys would do this when they can just frame their advice into their expertise so they don't come off as frauds. In the medical field, this idea is called scope of practice. Scope of practice is a philosophy designed to keep hospitals from getting sued, but it's also an incredibly powerful way of thinking. If you're an athletic trainer, you stick to helping people with sports injuries. If you're an EMT, you stick to emergency medicine. If you're a doctor, you stick to the field you learned in your residency. This is extremely important because if these professionals mess up, people could die or be severely injured unnecessarily. Even though things aren't that serious on YouTube, I still like to use this idea on my channel. There's a reason why all my videos are framed in terms of psychology, mental health, philosophy, communication skills, historical politics, teaching, and fitness. It's because that's what I know. I don't talk about what I don't know because it weakens my arguments and it might accidentally cause me to mislead tons of people into believing things that aren't true. Also, from a selfish perspective, talking about things outside of your knowledge base makes you very easy to attack. Hot Ape Lady Gene Smith could have avoided criticism by saying that she was a dating coach for women. When you add that piece of context into the system, her advice at least makes some sense. As for Marnie, who is much better at what she does, I have no idea why she doesn't just frame her advice inside of her knowledge base. She has a number of successful videos like this one where she talks about a subject that she is very qualified to talk about. All she has to do is take the topics that people are interested in and talk about it in a way so that her perspective as a woman is valuable. There are tons of ways to do that, and if you work within your limitations properly, it will result in a unique perspective that will get you tons of views. I reframe topics so that they fall into my knowledge base all of the time. Because of that, I don't need a scam website to sell a product, and I don't need to give non-advice or partial truths because I put myself in a position where I don't know what I'm talking about. Also, Marnie needs to actually show the data when she says science is backing up what she says.
Scientific studies prove that people screw up their own performance when they try to get things perfect.
The point is, stick to what you're strong at, especially when it comes to giving advice or debate. Way more people will listen when they can see you're talking about something that you know a lot about. But with that said, I think that's enough for this video. So if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, comment and share. If you would like to support this channel, then you can do so with PayPal, Patreon, or Subscribestar. You can find all of those links in the description. Last, don't forget to check me out on Odysee, Rumble, and Minds. You can also find those links in the description. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.